Good afternoon and welcome to GrainTV for the weekly wrap-up edition on October 14th. Well, Logan, we saw the markets go to the information buffet this week and they got their fill. When everything was digested, we saw them up across the board. Why don't you take us through the weekly price changes?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we added 40 cents to the December corn contract this week. November beans, $1.10 added onto that contract. And wheat was a little bit in the back. We saw Chicago wheat up 14, Kansas City wheat up 23. And I think that was really reflective of what we saw Wednesday coming out of the WASDE report. There's really a glut of wheat right now in the global market. As we said, beans is kind of there in the driver's seat. What do you think was pushing beans?
I'm taking a look at beans, and I'm seeing that after nearly a $3 sell-off in the last couple of weeks, last month or so, we had to take some of those positions off the table. We had to even them up, and we had to take some profits. So on Tuesday, we saw a technical turnaround, and we saw beans actually advance 56 cents on Tuesday alone. Adding to that, on Wednesday was WASDE coming out and saying that their anticipated yield is going to be down by about 0.3. So that added support, and China actually came back in and bought a large amount of soybeans in the last week or so. So those three factors really drove beans a lot higher this week. I think we added about 111 cents. So I'm looking at that as pretty positive for the market. Export sales was another story this week. We did see some good things come out of that as well. As far as corn is concerned, we were down about 2.5% from last week, but we did exceed expectations this week. So I'm looking at that as pretty positive for the market as corn is concerned. Soybeans, we were down about 4.5% from last week, but we did meet expectations there as well.
Yeah.
China bought most of those export sales. I think they ended up with about 560,000 metric tons. Almost all of those sales went to China. Wheat, on the other hand, we were up 12%. Japan and China are noted buyers there as well. And for corn, Japan, Mexico, China, and South Korea were buyers in that market. So we're looking at a lot of demand coming out of China right now, which is good to see considering that we have seen them kind of fall off on the export front.
Yeah, and it was really good to see that we got pretty strong wheat exports because moving forward, it's going to be a tough market out there for U.S. wheat. We see a bumper crop coming out of the Black Sea region. Ukraine has lifted a tariff on wheat exports. And, the U.S. dollar over the last month or so has really gained a lot of ground as this Euro debt crisis drags on. We saw some buying in the last week or two on, this notion that this issue is going to be cleared up. But, it's not going away anytime soon. And so we'll keep you posted on where U.S. wheat exports are moving forward.
Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back with some weather updates.
Welcome back. Brock, we saw our friends over at Planalytics provided some satellite imagery this week. Why don't you take us through what they told us?
Yeah, basically what we're looking at here is a vegetation index map. And what we see is a lot of browning in the Midwest area. Part of that is due to the crop's maturity levels. We are seeing them start to dry up a little bit, ready for harvest. And the other part is that harvest is advancing rather quickly in those areas, so we're going to see a lot of that greenness come out of that area in the next few weeks. Areas I would like to note are Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio still have a little bit of green in there, and I'm just thinking that they are well behind in their maturity levels, as we saw in the crop progress report earlier this week. So that's going to be a factor going forward. How late are these crops going to come out of the field, and is a frost event going to affect these crops in this stage of development? That's something we're going to have to keep our eye on going forward.
Yeah.
As far as the southwest part of the United States, or the growing area where hard red winter wheat is raised, we do expect some greenness to come back into that area as we saw significant rainfall in that region over the last week or so. Logan, why don't you just give us some of the rain totals that happened in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you can see from this map provided by Planalytics, 1 to 6 inches in areas of Kansas, Oklahoma, and northern Texas. This was a much-needed relief for an exceptional drought that they are in right now. And it also comes at a critical time for the 2011 Kansas City wheat crop. So we were really glad to see that they did receive some precipitation this week, but they're still have a long ways to go to get caught up to seasonal norms. I was talking to a guy in an elevator down in Kansas. He said, this substantially helped the situation, but they still need a lot of precipitation moving forward. As we kind of switch gears here, we're coming to the end of the 2011 growing season for the Northern Hemisphere. Why don't you take us through some of the things that are going on down in Argentina and Brazil right now as they're getting planted?
Yeah, as we get closer to their planting season at the end of our harvest, this is going to become more and more of an issue to keep track of going forward. And, of course, we'll keep you updated here on GrainTV as we progress through their growing season. But basically what we're looking at here is Brazil is doing a little bit better on moisture levels compared to last year. We do see that tapering off in the next couple of months or so as we have a La Nina effect continuing to have its grip on the South America region right now. But we do see that subsiding as we head into December and La Nina effects start to move farther north and start to affect us in the northern hemisphere. As Argentina is concerned, they are a little bit drier than they were last year, but again, that's going to be going on for the next couple months or so until we get that La Nina shift back to the northern hemisphere, and we should see some more moisture come back into Argentina. So we're looking at them get their crops in the ground, and then they'll get some moisture, and we'll see how that pans out here in the next couple months or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll keep an eye on that situation down south, and with that, I think that wraps up our show. Have a good weekend. Good luck for the rest of the harvest, and we'll see you on Tuesday.